Okay guys, I've never tried saving ranunculus and anemones before, but this is some ranunculus that I dug up and saved last year. Some of them I think look pretty good. Others I'm not so sure, but I'm gonna give these a soak for a couple hours and then we will come back and see what we've got. I have far less anemones. I just poured some water in them. There's maybe, I don't know, 20 or so corms in there. And all I did was dig them up at the end of the year and I saved them in paper bags. So they've just been down in the same room that I'm keeping my dahlias in. They're hard as little stones right now, so we'll come back and check them in 4 hours after we add water. And a lot of people like to add bubblers and aerators, but I didn't do that last year and I don't think I suffered any ill effects, so I'll just fill this bowl up with water and let it set for 4 hours. Okay guys, I let those soak for 4 hours and now I'm back and I'm just tucking the plumped up corms into, I think this was a 72 cell tray. And you'll see there's a couple that I'll pick out. They're too large for these cells and I went ahead and put those into a 6 cell, just a little mini tray. I think you can see that I don't have these cells filled all the way up, and that was just to allow space for me to tuck the corms down in. And then I did come back afterwards and add some soil on top. You'll also see me checking the corms over before I stick them in the cells, and any that had any mushy or really black spots, I did just dispose of. I think in total I ended up with over 100 corms, and of that 100 plus corms, there were only maybe half a dozen that I had to throw away. And I'm sure I missed some, and maybe I'll lose a few more before we get to the planting stage. But overall, I was impressed with how many I think are actually going to make it. I think you'll also notice quite a difference in the size of some of these corms. Some are a lot larger and some are a lot smaller. And I think that's just because some of these would have been the original corms that I purchased last year, but a lot of these were actually produced and multiplied from those corms, which I think are a lot of the smaller ones. So I'm not expecting to get flowers necessarily from some of those smaller ones, but I'm hoping they will size up and give me more flowers next year. I'll show you the trays once I had them all filled up, but I didn't add a whole lot of water to water them in once I had them planted up and covered. I don't think, especially the anemones, I don't think they like to be very wet. And I did actually have a few rot last year in their cell packs, I think because I just had them too wet. So I'm being extra careful this year and keeping them on the drier side. If you're growing anemones and ranunculus this year, I highly recommend trying to save them if that's not something you've done in the past. This was one of the easier overwintering projects that I've ever attempted. It's far easier than dahlias even. There's no, complicated storage of tubers and perfect humidities or anything like that. I literally dug them up after they had died back, let them dry out for a few days on a covered porch, and threw them into a paper bag where they remained until I brought them up to pot them up for this year. I think there were a few casualties, but by far I had like a 90 to 95% survival rate. And assuming these sprout, or the majority of them sprout, I think this was definitely a success and something that I will do every year going forward. So I won't make you guys watch me pot up this whole tray, but I will take you down and show you where I'm planning to store them until they sprout in my basement. So here are the final potted up corms. You can see they're not buried very deeply, and that's because they're just here to sprout. And then in a couple weeks, once they start sprouting, it will pretty much be time to plant them outdoors, believe it or not. Look at all that snow out there. So this tray is full of, this is that 72 cell tray that is full of the medium-sized corms, I guess. And then this is another tray that has the leftovers that wouldn't fit in this tray, as well as the anemones, which I did the exact same way. And then there's that 6 cell tray that I have the larger corms planted in. This is just an unfinished room in our basement that I have the vent cover is closed there to try to keep it a little cooler. And this is actually where I'm storing my dahlias. They're just in a corner here. And those corms just spent the winter here in this cardboard box in a paper bag just like this. These are actually gladiola bulbs that I hope are storing well. We'll find out. Could be a little firmer, but we will see. And that's it for the anemone and ranunculus. We'll check in a few weeks and see how they're making out. Thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.